wasn't ready for this side of MS. It's a good question, isn't it? It's not spoken enough, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm Mike, and this is my channel called Myelin and Me. I mentioned it again. I wasn't ready for this side of MS. Nobody prepared me for this version. When you're first diagnosed, people talk about medication, symptoms, appointments. They warn you about flare-ups, relapses. They talk about treatment plans. They talk about physio. But they don't talk about this. They don't talk about what it does to your head. They don't talk about what it quietly takes from you. If you found this channel because you're living with MS, I think this episode might be for you. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to say what I thought MS would be when I first got diagnosed. I honestly believed that MS would be something that I managed. No one else, me. Something that I organised, something I stayed on top of. I thought if I ate right, took my meds, went to appointments, it would just completely behave. I believed that if I did everything correct, I would control it. It would be me. I would control it. But MS don't work like that. It don't care how hard you try. It doesn't respect effort. It doesn't, follow rules. And that's the first shock. Not just because you're ill, but that you're powerless in ways you never expected to be. And the part that sort of hits is first is your body. You get your weakness, your fatigue, your weird sensations, your cramps. But later, much later, it starts touching other parts of you. It takes your confidence. It takes your identity, your sense of safety. It takes your plans. Your future suddenly feels so fragile. You stop assuming. You start calculating. You measure days. You ration your energy. You weigh everything in your head before doing it. You think, will this exhaust me? Will I pay for this tomorrow? Is this worth the energy crash? Life becomes quieter. It becomes smaller. It becomes more careful. And what people don't see is they don't always see MS. Because why would they? They'd see you walking. They see you talking. They see you smiling and laughing. They don't see the cost behind it. They don't feel the exhaustion running through your bones. They just don't see that. They don't live inside your head when everything feels heavy for no clear reason. They don't wake up inside your body every day. They don't know what it's like pretending you're okay when every nerve feels tired. They don't understand how much energy it takes just to look normal. And slowly you start hiding. Not because you want to, but because it's easier. It is. It's just easier to hide. And then you've got the quiet grief. No one tells you that MS actually comes with grief. Not out loud grief. It's quiet grief. You grieve the person that you used to be. You grieve the future you pictured all those years ago. You grieve the life you thought that you would have by now. You grieve abilities you haven't even lost yet, because the fear is always there and it's waiting. You mourn yourself while, you're still here. It's strange, and that messes with your head in ways that, you try and explain, but you just can't find the words. So you've got the guilt and the shame. You start feeling guilty for resting. You feel ashamed for cancelling plans. You find yourself apologising too much. You minimise your pain. You downplay your struggle. You tell yourself that you're exaggerating, that others are worse, that you should be grateful, that you should cope better. But MS doesn't disappear because you feel guilty. The pain doesn't soften because you feel ashamed. And exhaustion doesn't lift because you're being polite about it. Then you look at your identity. MS doesn't just touch your body. It touches who you are. You start asking questions like, who am I now? What am I still allowed to want? How much of me is actually left? How much more have I got to actually give? You lose confidence in yourself, in your stamina, in your reliability. You start wondering how others see you. Do they see you as weak? Do they see you as lazy? Dramatic? And that's just in your head. And that cuts deeper than any symptoms ever could. People see symptoms, they don't see what's going on in your mind. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, that's exactly how I feel. If you finally feel seen, if this video is putting words to things you never said out loud, then let me say something, and let me say it really clear. You're not dramatic. You're not broken. You're certainly not weak. And you're not imagining this. You're living with something relentless. And you're still here. Or Yammer O'Heed, as we say in Wales. That matters more than you know. There's no fake positivity. I won't tell you that MS makes you stronger. Sometimes it just makes you tired. I won't tell you that everything happens for a reason, because sometimes there is absolutely no reason. I won't say that you'll come out better for this. Sometimes you just come out different, and that's hard. But survival isn't glamorous. Strength isn't loud, and resilience isn't inspirational quotes which you see on TikTok. Sometimes it looks like just getting up. Sometimes it looks like crying. Sometimes it looks like, staying. Sometimes it looks like rest, but the truth is, if you are still here, still trying, sometimes you're still breathing through it, you're still waking up, you're still facing another day, then you're doing something extraordinary. Not for applause, not for praise. You're doing it for you. And that is one of the biggest things you can do. Just keep going. It's as simple as that. You've got this. This channel exists because no one should feel invisible in this. No one should feel ashamed for struggling. No one should feel weak for surviving. If you're here, you belong here. And I'm glad you found this channel, because this is the reason I do stuff like this. This is the reason I create videos like this. It's to raise awareness for multiple sclerosis and the things that we go through. Now, I want to close, and if for any reason you've got this inkling, have you thought about trying yoga?